Original post, June 9, 2024. I, 21 female, lost my mom when I was 14. Dad remarried when I was 17. My stepmom has a 15-year-old daughter, she and dad had a 3-year-old boy, and now she just gave birth to a little girl. Anyway, I have worked since I was 16, to have some money to buy stuff for me. When I turned 18, Dad said I was now an adult and should start paying rent. It was only $500. A symbolic amount since he would still cover food and other essentials. I was mad and we fought, but in the end, I accepted, and that was the arrangement until 7 months ago. Dad came to me saying I had 2 months to move out, my stepmom was pregnant, and they would need my room for the baby, which is insane because they both have private offices. My stepmom doesn't even need one as she's a stay-at-home mom since the birth of my baby brother. Nonetheless, they told me I had to move. Me and stepmom get along fine. We don't fight or bicker. I don't think this was a evil stepmom moment, but who knows. Me and my stepsister are actually pretty close, I help her with homework, and talk about her personal problems. I do love her very much. Back to the story, I didn't know what to do. I'm going to college and work part-time. I don't have the means to live by myself. I called my aunt, asking if I could move in with her for the time being, until I figured something out, offered to pay rent and all. She was aghast at what Dad was doing. She said I absolutely could live with her, no rent needed, but also said she was going to deal with my dad. The next day Grandpa came to our house, and they talked privately. I could hear my dad's angry voice, but couldn't understand anything being said. After a while, Grandpa came to my room and said I had 3 choices. The first was to continue living with Dad and stepmom like I was doing, nothing would change except without paying rent. The second was moving in with him and Grandma, or my aunt. Third was to find a place of my own and he would pay the rent and costs for me. He said I didn't need to choose now, I could keep living with Dad, and if I changed my mind to just tell him. I was actually relieved I could still live with Dad, and that this madness was over. But the following days and weeks, Dad and stepmom were very hostile towards me, and I felt incredibly uncomfortable being in my own home. Even Cassie picked this up and asked me why they were angry at me. So, I decided to move out and told Grandpa. He said he would take care of everything. A few weeks later he moved me in into one of a few rental units. The apartment is lovely, he bought me a fridge, stove, and other essential items. He gave me a check for $15,000 saying this money is to help me start living on my own. And that as long as I am working or studying, I can live there rent-free, for as long as I want. My dad and I have been pretty low contact since I moved out. He never came to visit me, or I to visit them. I miss them a lot, especially my stepsister, but I'm still hurt. 2 weeks ago, my stepmom gave birth. I visited them in the hospital. It was a little awkward, but nice seeing them and my baby sister. Anyway, a few days ago Dad calls me, saying he misses me, the children miss me, and I should move back home. He apologized for asking me to move out, etc., and I told him I would think about it. Yesterday I visited my aunt, and was telling her what my dad said, and my cousin laughed a little and said I'm sure he does. I asked what he meant, and that's when they told me a lot of, until now, unknown information. Basically, my dad's home is actually my grandpa's, as is my aunt's. Basically, the deal he made with me, he did with all his kids and some grandkids as well. He never wanted any of his family to have to worry about basic stuff like housing, food, etc. When I called my aunt that time, she called Grandpa, who was furious with Dad, not only for kicking me out, but also for charging me rent. That day he went to my dad's and tore him a new one, and threatened to have him evicted. But now the petty part, you know that 15 grand Grandpa gave me? It's actually what I paid Dad in rent all that time. And now he's making Dad pay him back. Also, he's charging Dad $1,200 for the rent loss in the apartment I'm living in. Call me dumb, or naive, but until now, I never realized my dad didn't make that much money. We lived in a great house, always went on vacations, and lived very comfortable lives, but I guess Grandpa has always been helping behind the scenes. Now my cousin thinks Dad is struggling, with 3 kids at home, a single income, and having to pay it back to Grandpa. So he says Dad wants me back, because he imagines Grandpa will stop punishing him if I'm back living with them. Honestly, I don't know what to do. I'm actually loving living on my own these past 6 months. But I do really miss them. I miss my siblings. I miss the life we had before all of this, but I don't know if moving back home is the right answer, and also, I'm hurt the reason he wants me back is money. Relevant comments. Comment 1, he doesn't want you though, he wants money. And knowing this is always going to hurt you and chip away at your self-worth. OP, this is the weird part, because I know this. But also, it's difficult to see my dad that way. These past 6 months I wondered why he kicked me out. If I had done something. Now I'm thinking, was it all about money? Comment 2, how about starting new traditions with your aunt and grandparents? They love you and want you around. OP, yeah, they've been great. I visit them whenever possible. Grandma isn't in the best of health, but she even came to visit me on my birthday. I'm very lucky to have them and their support. Comment 3, I have a feeling your grandfather would be unconvinced to change the rent your father is paying even if you were to move back. He is charging your father to make a point, not to actually cover your expenses. OP, that makes sense. I've been reading what people say and I'm more comfortable with staying where I am. Less guilty. But maybe I should talk with Grandpa about it, to hear his side. I now realize I've been too sheltered from information I think I need. Update 1, June 17, 2024. I wanted to give you guys an update, since you've all been so helpful and kind to me. I was so overwhelmed by the support you gave me. Thanks 1,000 times. Before, just answering some questions people had. My aunt and grandpa are from my father's side of the family. My mom's side unfortunately I don't have much contact. My grandparents passed away before mom. I have uncles and aunts, I see once in a while, but they don't live close. I also have 2 other uncles from my father's side, I'm close to them, but not as near my aunt. She was my rock when mom died. I consider her a second mom. My stepmom knew about the rent I was paying, it was implied stepsister would need to do the same when she turned 18. But I don't know if she knew dad didn't own the house, or the extent of how much grandpa has financially helped dad. Monday, the day after my post, I called dad and said I decided to not move back. I didn't mention anything I was told, just that it was well settled here, and moving back seemed like a step back. But I also said I wanted to keep in contact with them. They could invite me for dinner whenever they wanted, and I also said I would love for my stepsister and brother to be able to spend time with me here at home. He was disappointed, and I didn't feel any angriness in his tone at least. But he basically said we'll see, and left at that. I was also disappointed. But then Friday he called me, and asked me if I wanted to have lunch Sunday. I said I already had plans with Grandpa and Grandma, and he asked when I would be free. So we scheduled a dinner for Thursday. I haven't told any of this to my stepsister, we talk and text regularly. She also hasn't heard them talking about me. But she did say her grandma on her mom's side is there to help with the baby, and is being incredibly annoying. I laughed at that. I wanted to offer her to sleep over here, but didn't want to get her excited just for dad to say no, so I'll try to talk with them on Thursday. The big update is I've just come back from visiting Grandpa and Grandma. We spent a lovely day together. But I also said I wanted to know everything that was going on. I wasn't a kid anymore and I felt like living in lies. The most important things were things my cousin and aunt told me last week. But there were a few more. Grandpa had been subsidizing quite often our basic needs, like school and healthcare, because dad hasn't 1 cent saved up according to Grandpa. Also, my college fund was mainly contributed by him and my mom before her passing. I guess that makes sense. I was also dumb to not realize this sooner. He also has set up funds for my baby siblings. And also one for my stepsister. Because he didn't want her to feel she did not have the same opportunities as her siblings. This man is incredible. I love him so much. And yes, I'm very lucky. I've seen so many people commenting this, not in a derogatory way, but being very supportive and nice. I know I'm very privileged to have grandparents and family members who can afford and are willing to help me. I hope one day I can help others the way they are helping me. Anyways, I also expressed worries about dad's financial situation, and he assured me dad is fine, more than fine. He will have to be less frivolous with money for a while, but he would never let any of his kids or grandkids suffer, or be in need of anything. As many of you said, he's trying to teach dad a lesson. So I'll stay out of it. I don't think I'll tell dad that I know all of this. I know many of you said to confront him, but I think it's for the best if he continues thinking I'm oblivious. Lastly, we talked about why dad kicked me out. He didn't have an answer either. I could see he and Grandma were very hurt by what dad did. He said he asked for an explanation but got none. That's it for now. I'll continue trying to have a relationship with my siblings outside of my dad and stepmom. I also tried to schedule a weekly dinner with them. I know what you guys said about my father is mostly true. But I need to at least to try to have a relationship with him, if not for him, for my siblings, and for me. But don't worry, I won't let him hurt me anymore. Relevant comments. Comment 1, your grandfather is the GOAT. I wish I could have had someone like him in my life. I still think that your dad is trying to erase his last wife, your mom, from his memory, as I have heard about such things all too often. Although maybe not consciously? I am not sure at this point if he is being honest. I hope things go well for you. Story 2. Am I the asshole for telling my parents to keep all the money they stole from me while I was in university? Original post, April 25, 2024. I got a job while I was in high school. It was with a friend of my father. I put away most of it and just bought myself some stuff I wanted, but my parents wouldn't buy for me. My parents aren't rich, but they do well enough. They wanted me to appreciate that material goods were paid for with my time. I didn't mind. I bought myself a PS4 and some games. They made me share with my younger brother and sister. Once again, I didn't mind. I mostly played while they did homework or slept. When I graduated from high school, they said I had to start paying rent. That sucked because I was going to university in the fall, and I was hoping to save up over the summer so I could work less during the school year. So I worked my ass off in school and at work. I ended up getting a job loading delivery trucks before school. And that sucked because I went to sleep at 7 p.m. most nights so I could get up early and go to work. I am about to graduate, and I found a job in another province. I have already started doing my onboarding and online training. I will go from graduation to loading my car to leave. My parents had a graduation party for me where they tried to present me with a check for all the rent I paid plus a pittance in interest. I looked at the check for about a minute and I started laughing. All I could think of was the fact that I had no social life during university. Because I was working. I didn't have any money in investments like my friends did. Because they were taking my money. I asked them how they were doing this for my sister. They said they weren't since she wasn't working while she went to school. I tore up the check and told them to shove it up their asses. I told them that when they compensated me for all the sleep I lost, 4 years of no social life during university, and 4 summer vacations, I would speak to them again. I told my little brother not to get a job or they would screw him over too. I went to my room, grabbed my computer, some clothes, my PS4, and my toiletries. My brother and sister can play on the PS5 my parents bought the family. They were yelling at me the whole time. I said if they touched me or tried to stop me I would call the cops. I loaded up my car, that I paid for, I insure, and is registered to me. I drove to my friend's parents' house and had a bit of a breakdown. They let me stay there since she is away at university in another city. I blocked my parents and my brother and sister. I had already given notice at my job so I called my boss and told him I was sick and would not be available for my last week. He said he understood and laughed. He said he was surprised I had kept working this close to graduation. My grandfather called me to talk a couple of days later. We went to Timmy's and he let me unload everything I felt. They took money from me that I could have used to make my life better. I didn't even have time for a girlfriend. My entire university romantic life was hooking up with a woman I work with when her ex-husband had the kids for the weekend. He said my parents' hearts were in the right place and that they thought they were helping me. I said they owed me 4 years of fun. Of parties I was too tired to go to. Of social events and networking I didn't do. All the stuff they were subsidizing for my sister. And that they would end up subsidizing for my brother. He said he understood and hugged me. He is old but I couldn't have gotten free of that hug if I tried. He asked me if I needed money to start my new job. I said I did not want anything that came from my parents. He gave me a cashier's check for about 3 times what my parents took from me. He said to use it however I wanted in my new life. He said it wasn't part of my inheritance or anything. It was a gift from him and something my grandma would have wanted me to have. My friends think I was stupid to tear up the check. Most of them agree with me about being pissed at my parents. Some family have called me to say I behaved terribly and that I owe my parents an apology. I thank them for the call or message and block them. I'm calmer now and I do not think I am in the wrong. But maybe I'm too close to see what I'm missing. Am I the asshole? Relevant comments. Comment 1. Not the asshole. They saw that the lifestyle they forced on you was killing you for years and did nothing. And they waited to do it at a party they hosted so they could get full credit as great parents too. The fact that they never intend to pull this crap on your sister reeks of bias. OP. They would probably try if she was stupid enough to get a job. Comment 2. Not the asshole. How much were you paying in rent? I could understand a pittance, like $300. We have never taken money from our children. Our son is living at home currently and working full-time, making over $70,000. But he doesn't pay to live here, and we buy all the food. I would rather he save money for a house. OP. $750 a month. Comment 3. You ripped up a check that was close to $40,000? OP. A little over. Comment 4, why didn't you move out sooner? OP, dorms were more expensive. And I live in the city where my university is, so I would not have gotten in. I could have moved out if I got a full-time job and dropped out. I chose my path. Update 1, April 28, 2024. I took a lot of what you guys had to say to heart. I unblocked my family and spoke with my parents. I agreed to meet with them for lunch today. We went to the keg and talked. They said they didn't realize how I felt for those 4 years. My mom cried and said she was very sorry that I felt like they didn't care about me. I guess they read my post from before it got taken down and they are disturbed by what I wrote. They are also upset that my girlfriend is a single mom 14 years older than me. They asked if they could meet her, and I said no. They offered me the check again and this time I took it and thanked them. I said I would come home later. After lunch, I went to the bank and deposited it. Since we all bank at the same branch, it was easy to cash it. I made sure that the money was in my account. Then I blocked them again. I just wrote my girlfriend a check for $4,312 to help her out. It was the interest on the money more or less. She is a decent person and she taught me a lot. She works her ass off loading trucks, and she deserves something good in her life. I know that isn't me. I am seeing my grandfather tomorrow. I am going to make sure he knows what I did and why. I am also going to invite him out to see my new place once I move out west. I'm spending the weekend at my girlfriend's house since her ex has the kids. Thank you all for your help and advice. Relevant comments. Comment 1. What was the reason for giving your girlfriend the money and what was her reaction to it? OP. I felt like doing something nice with money that my parents would hate. She was very appreciative of the money and tried not to accept it. I said my next choice for that money would be Pierre Poilievre and she accepted it just to keep it away from him. Update 2, June 15, 2024. This is the best I can do if you want all the drama. Sorry. Tuesday is my convocation. I gave the tickets to my grandfather and my girlfriend. Wednesday I'm taking a flight home and never coming back here for any reason other than to see my grandfather. My grandpa came out to see my new apartment and I took him for a drive from my new city down to another then through the mountains and home. He had never seen the Rockies before. My parents are pissed that they will not get to see me graduate. But since they had nothing to do with my success thus far in my life, they don't deserve it. I got some great advice from this sub and the other one. I will start seeing a therapist when I get to the city where I will be working. Not to reconcile with my parents or anything. Just to deal with my hatred and maybe get to a better place. I left my old phone at my parents' house, and I have a new phone number that only my grandpa, my friend, her parents, and my girlfriend know. If I get a call from my parents, I will ditch it and just have my grandfather know my number. I have been lurking on Reddit and I cannot believe how many other parents think this is the right way to deal with kids. If you do this, please choke. So yeah. Still angry, still cutting those useless people out of my life. Happy to be moving forward. Thanks for reading this and for the advice. All of you that agreed with my parents, I hope you do better with your kids. If not, you deserve what you get. Relevant comments. Comment 1. Can I ask a few questions? Did you ever talk about how you felt regarding the money to your parents before the incident? Were you planning to cut them off, or were you just pissed they didn't actually need the money and kept you in a misguided attempt to teach you self-reliance? Do you think it's fair to also cut off your siblings for something your parents did? OP. Never talked to them. Wasn't planning on cutting them off. Was going to go low contact, not no contact. My sister is on their side. Big surprise. My brother unfortunately let them use his phone to contact me. Comment 2. So has the girlfriend been promoted to legit girlfriend now? OP. No. We have had our goodbyes. We actually had them after my first post. I just wanted her to see me graduate. She deserved it more than my parents. She cares for me but was very clear that her and I would not work long term. I can see where OP's parents are coming from, wanting him to learn self-reliance, but that's some crazy level of life lesson. As someone who also had no social life in college, it's something that I really wish I was able to have, so I really feel for OP. Also, what were his parents trying to do by giving him his money at his party? Like, did they think they were doing him a favor, or did they just do it to try to look good in front of everyone? Anyway, that's all for this video. Thank you for watching. I will see you in the next one.